Pastor Dave Grisham here for Official Street Preachers, and I just wanted to talk to you guys today about some things that were going on in the world, and what you can do about it, and what may be happening in the future. I want to make some comments first of all on the attempted assassination of President Donald Trump, and some advice and some how to wade through some of the garbage that's going on in the media. Let me explain a little bit about my background. For 26 years, I was a security police officer at a place called Pantex. Pantex is the final assembly and disassembly point for all nuclear weapons produced in the United States. It's one of the most secretive and one of the most heavily guarded facilities in the entire world. And I was a security police officer there. I worked 10 years on what's called SRT, which is the special response team, like a SWAT team. And I also operated as a sniper on what's called the Op 4 team. The Op 4 means opposing forces. And so what we did was we traveled around and we attacked other nuclear facilities in training exercises, and they would defend against us. And they would use that data to try to figure out where to spend their money to enhance their security and make it better. Now, I can't go into too much detail about exactly what I did because a lot of it is classified, but I can tell you that I operated as a sniper on that team. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what snipers do and what they don't do, and exactly kind of maybe give you a little bit more insight into what happened with the Donald Trump attempted assassination. So a shot was taken from a little less than 150 yards away, which is essentially almost a point blank shot for a sniper of any caliber. I mean, you take somebody that has even a minimal amount of training, and you could make a good shot at 150 yards. It's not difficult whatsoever. When I was in basic training in the Army, um, they gave us these garbage AR-15 or M16 rifles that had probably had half the rifling shot out of them because they were training weapons, and they were shot over and over and over and over, handled by every yahoo that came through a training class, and these things were not accurate by any means. And I could easily, my first time we went out, I shot and put 5 rounds in a grouping the size of my fist at 175 yards, which easily would have hit somebody in the head at 175 yards because I'd had some experience with guns before. I've grown up with guns. I've shot guns most of my life, and so I have a lot of experience with firearms. So even with a basic training weapon, 175 yards was not a difficult shot, with a piece of junk weapon. So any decent rifle at 150 yards will definitely put rounds right into somebody's head. However, most snipers do not shoot at the head unless it's a very specific circumstance. And the reason for that is because the head moves around a lot. This is why the sniper missed, because Donald Trump's head was moving back and forth as he's speaking to the crowd. The head moving makes it a very difficult shot, not the distance. It's the fact that the head is moving. Moving targets are more difficult to hit. You have to try to anticipate. Like if you're taking a shot at a running animal when you're hunting, you have to lead the animal, and you have to try to figure out and put the round at the point where the animal's going to be, not where it is at the moment, but where it's going to be. So if you're trying to hit a running animal, an animal like a deer running, you have to lead the deer so the bullet and the deer get there at the same time, and hopefully the bullet goes where you want it to be. Moving shots are always much more difficult. Okay, so that challenges a sniper to a large degree. So the fact that the head is moving around, if the sniper had taken a body shot, now a lot of people will say, yeah, but Donald Trump might have been wearing soft body armor. That's true. But soft body armor will not stop a 5.56 round. Soft body armor will not stop most rifle rounds. It's geared for handguns. Most assassination attempts on politicians actually come from up close, generally with handguns. And so rifle shots are more rare when it comes to assassination attempts. So this was one of the more rare events, and he missed because Donald Trump's head was moving. Just the angle of the head moving back and forth or back and forth on the shoulder like this can definitely affect your shot. So by the time you have decided to pull the trigger and you're now squeezing the trigger to make the shot, and the time the bullet actually arrives, there is just enough time for a person to turn their head and the bullet not strike them in the brain, but strike them maybe in the ear. It just whizzed by the head. Now, also understand I was a medic in the military. And so one of the things we understood about head wounds, an actual high velocity round does not have to actually penetrate the skull to kill you. If it glances off the skull, it makes what's called a keyhole wound. And a keyhole is a keyhole shaped piece of skull that will actually fracture off of the head, and the bullet may go zinging off at a different angle, but the piece of skull travels through the brain, killing the person. So even just a glancing hit with a high velocity round striking the edge of the skull, bouncing off the skull or ricocheting off the skull, can definitely kill you because the keyhole shape of skull will actually, it's called spalling. It will actually spall into the brain and kill you. So that's what can happen. So actually, really, Donald Trump really did literally come millimeters from death, because if that bullet had struck his skull, even at an angle, it might have spalled a piece of skull off and actually killed him. So in any case, in any case, that's my take on that. And there's a lot of people that are saying that, oh, Donald Trump was struck by a piece of glass. He was not struck by a piece of glass. He was not struck by a piece of glass. I don't know where people get this idea. Where would the glass have come from? I don't know. I don't have any idea where they think the glass would have come from. Uh, there was no glass around for it to just come out and strike him. There was no glass near him to strike his ear. That's a ridiculous thing. The Democrats are denying this assassination attempt because when he stood up there and pumped his fist with blood on his face, that's an iconic photo, and it made him look like a very strong leader. Now, if a person is a strong leader and a strong person, and you want to minimize that, or you want to take that away from him, then obviously you have nefarious purposes in mind. You're just an evil person if that's what you want to do. If you want to just take down somebody who's a strong leader that might be good for our country, then guess what? You don't have good intentions for our country. You don't. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about this cyber incident that happened. I want you to understand something about that. Okay. They're saying it's an accident. They're saying that it was an error. The 3 lines of code, there was an error, and bingo, ATMs went down, computers went down, flights got canceled, all kinds of stuff. I have my suspicions about this, and my suspicions are that it was a cyber attack disguised to look like an error. I mean, I want you to think about it. If you want to commit the perfect murder, right? You commit a murder, but you make it look like an accident, or you make it look like a suicide, right? We joke about that with the Clintons all the time, right? Oh, he got suicided. It was really a murder, but they tried to make it look like a suicide. People joke about that, but because they know instinctually that if you're going to try to commit a crime, oftentimes the best crimes that are committed are the ones that also have a cover up already pre-programmed into it. Now, there was a virus years ago called Stuxnet. Many of you may not have heard of that. Stuxnet was a virus that was developed between the United States and Israel. And at the time, they were trying to go after Iran's nuclear program. So what was happening was Iran was smuggling in various types of electronic computerized components for their centrifuges. Now, a centrifuge is when they take something like yellow cake, and they heat it up and they get hexafluoride gas off of it, and then they spin it in a centrifuge, and it produces a certain degree of purity of like uranium 238. And then they spin it some more and spin it some more, and they run it through a process, and the amount gets smaller, but the purity gets greater, and they're purifying stuff to weapons grade uranium, right? That's how centrifuges work. They're purifying things to weapons grade uranium. The weapons grade uranium is then used as a nuclear trigger or a pit. It is a pit in the center of a weapon, and then you put the explosive around it, and you force it to implode very all at the same time, all the way around equally, and it causes it to go supercritical, and you get a nuclear detonation. Okay, so anyway, so they were trying to purify this stuff, and these centrifuges have to spin at a certain rate, and they have to be very steady. Any slower, it doesn't work. Any faster, they fly apart. It's a very balanced system. Okay, so this is a weak point. So because there was an air gap between the actual system and the internet, there was no way for a virus to jump from the internet into the system controlling their centrifuges. They were trying to get past that air gap. So what they did is, in this equipment that was being smuggled in, they used their agents on the ground to intercept this stuff. They inserted the virus into the equipment, and then they just let it go. They just let it go on its merry way through the smuggling system, and they brought it in, they installed it, and then the system would mimic that everything was normal. So your centrifuges would be spinning. Instead of going 30,000 RPM, they might be speeding up to 40 or 50,000 RPM. So they would explode and fly apart and destroy themselves, but all your equipment looked like it was functioning normally. So if something happened and it exploded, it would make it look like it was just an error, some sort of accident in the code. And then Stuxnet would mutate and hide itself so that it would be very difficult to find. Very sophisticated virus. Okay. These types of things can be developed by good hackers. We're talking world-class hackers hired by governments. Okay. So let's look at the accident, so to speak, of this event that would just happened just a couple of days ago. It may have looked like an error, but maybe it was designed to look like an error. That's what I'm saying. Maybe it was a beta test. Maybe it was designed to do something. It just so happens that it worked on the banking systems, which is a critical system. Financial system is critical. It also worked on the transportation system, which is also critical. Interesting, right? Now, if you wanted to take down a country's ability to respond to an incident, you would, number one, you'd take down maybe their financial system. That causes mass confusion. You would also take down their transportation systems, which causes people to have to not be able to move around. It reduces your ability to respond. And you would also maybe take down their utility systems, like electricity, things like that. Now, I'm not sure if this accident took down any utilities, but if you were going to do a major event, if there was going to be a big attack, some sort of false flag attack or a black swan event, if you wanted to plan something like that, if you wanted to plan it, you would want to cover it. You would want to reduce the response. It's kind of like if a bank robber could take down the 911 system right before robbing a bank, that would be great, because then nobody could call the police, right? It would enable them to commit their crime and have less interference. So think of this in this way, that this incident with this cyber attack stuff may have been a dry run. It may have been a beta test to see exactly what they could do and do it on a limited scale in preparation for something in the future. So my advice to you is this. If you happen to be going about your normal daily business and suddenly there is a major interruption of the internet, transportation systems, financial systems, uh, electricity, things like that, my advice to you would be get in your car and get your butt home. and stay at home, because there may be something really bad about to happen after that. Because that cyber incident may be a cover or a concealment of something much worse that's about to happen, like a dirty bomb going off in a big city and reducing the effectiveness of the response. Terrorists do that. See, I work at Pantex. I kind of work in counterterrorism, and as on the Op 4 team, we trained in the tactics of terrorists, and then we would use those tactics against the security forces so that they could better train against us instead of waiting for the real event. And like I said, I can't go into a lot of that training. I can't go into a lot of those tactics that we use specifically because they were classified. But I can tell you this, what I've seen that's publicly available. Okay, this is what I'm going to discuss now is all publicly available. What you've seen in the past, if you've seen a car bomb go off at a particular location, and then when the response comes, ambulances arrive, police arrive, all these other people arrive to respond, another car bomb goes off and kills a bunch of the responders. That's another way of doing that. That's another way of interfering with the response. But ideally, what you want to do is if you want to really do a big event, especially if it's in multiple locations, like say a country the size of the United States, say you want to do multiple attacks across a wide variety of targets and places, you want to dull the response, because if one goes off first and then another goes off, everybody goes into prevention mode around the rest of the country, like we did on 9/11. When those planes hit those buildings, what did we do? We started making planes land because we didn't know what other planes might still be out there, right? But if you disrupted the communications while that was going on, you might not be able to communicate with those aircraft to bring them down. Does that make sense? So if you happen to be someplace and there's a major cyber attack, get your rear end home and hunker down. Don't go anywhere, because something else may be really bad about to happen. There could be a dirty bomb that's going to go off in a major city. There could be multiple terrorist attacks that take place at, like, what if suddenly at 100 schools across the United States, terrorists rush into elementary schools, start shooting up a bunch of kids. If you haven't read the book called Beslan, I did read that book because I worked in counterterrorism. I read that book called Beslan. Trust me, they want to attack your children. These terrorists do. They want to go after your kids. They want to cause as much disruption, as much pain as possible. Now, Iran has threatened to assassinate Donald Trump on a number of occasions. And I'm not saying that this assassination attempt was leaked to Iran. I don't know. There may be an international component to it. I'm not saying there was. I'm not saying there wasn't. Not enough information has come out. And so because he killed Soleimani, one of their top generals, they were very, very upset with Donald Trump. So in any case, if there's going to be multiple terrorist attacks across the United States simultaneously, they're going to want to slow the response. And what better way to slow the response than a preceding cyber attack? So you just do a cyber attack and gets everybody concerned about that. It kind of freezes everything in place and slows down everybody's ability to respond. And then suddenly terrorists attack all over the place. This could be the response of Iran against the United States attacking Donald Trump. If they can't get Donald Trump directly, they might go after those that he leads, right? It's kind of like the devil. He can't attack God, so he goes after God's children. Same kind of principle, okay? Sometimes if an enemy can't get you, they go after your family, right? That's kind of the same thing. So if the Iranians can't go after Donald Trump, they can't get to him now, especially with this failed attempt. His security is really going to be tight now. It's really going to be buttoned up. And so, especially with the Secret Service under such scrutiny and everything, they already look like idiots. If something else happens, they're going to look like traitors, okay? If they're not already, they're going to look like traitors. So my advice to you is, number one, get some cash, keep it in your wallet or keep it at your house in case the banking system goes down in the future, because this may be a shot across the bow kind of thing, a little bit of a warning for us that we should take this seriously. And get yourself some cash. Make sure you have at least a month or two's worth of food in the house. Make sure you have some water stored in your house in case the utilities go off and you can't get water. Okay. Make sure you have an alternate source of power, like get yourself a generator in case the power's down for a few days. Get yourself some fuel if you need fuel for a generator. Prepare yourself. Have a month or two's worth of food on hand. Make sure you have a way to defend yourself. If you don't have a gun, make sure you borrow a gun from somebody, buy a gun, and you don't need a lot of guns. Okay. Beware the man who only has one gun because he probably knows how to use it, right? Better to have one gun and know how to use it than have an arsenal that you don't even know how half of them operate. You're not trained on them. Just get yourself a gun and keep it at home for your own protection, your own family. And so make sure you got your own personal security taken care of. Keep your gas tank full in your car. Don't let it get down below 3/4 or half a tank. Drive on the top half of your tank in case the power goes out and you can't get fuel. You need enough gasoline to get home. So make sure that you've got enough gas to get home. I'd be very wary right now after this cyber attack. Okay? I'm sorry, this cyber incident. It may or may not have been an attack. After this assassination attempt, which was an assassination attempt, and now this cyber incident, these two may be more related than you think. So don't overlook things that are happening and make sure you're prepared. Have a little cash on hand at home just in case the systems go down and because cash is still king until they go to central bank digital currency, CBDCs. Until they do that, you still got the available use of cash. Have a little cash on hand, have some food and water on hand, have one gun, at least one gun to protect your family, and a little bit of ammunition on hand. You don't have to go all crazy and get an arsenal and get stockpile ammo to the ceiling. You're not going to fight World War III here. You just need to have a little bit of something to take care of yourself. And then keep your eyeballs open, keep your head on a swivel, make sure you're watching things, have good situational awareness. Okay? Pay attention to what's going on. That's going to be your biggest asset right there. Is the biggest weapon that you have, the best weapon you have is not the gun you have in your pocket. It's the weapon you have right here between your ears. Okay? Use what God gave you and have a little bit of wisdom about things. And make sure you're reading your Bible. Make sure your life is right with Jesus Christ. If you're in sin, get out of sin. Get your life squared away with God. Okay? The best protection you can have is under the wing of the Almighty. Okay? So if you're not serving Christ, give your life to Jesus Christ right now. Repent of your sins, give your life to Christ, and do works befitting repentance, as it says in Acts 26:20. If you are serving God, make sure if you've got any compromise in your life, get rid of it. Okay? Jesus said, "See, now you've been made well. Go and sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon you." That's good advice in today's world right now. Okay? God bless you all, and you all have a good day.